Stay connected. Make sure you hit the subscribe button.
Marijuana retail dispensary on-site consumption site. Do we have a motion to do something with that?
I'll make a motion to discuss and vote on it.
I have to.
So the motion would be to adopt the proposed local law opting out.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second, thank you. Discussion.
I'm going to begin that discussion. Tom, is that all right?
That's fine.
Okay. So just want to make sure that everybody understands. I've talked about this many times, but you know it's somewhat confusing, the logistics and semantics of it. So before you decide to vote, just try to get it in your head, and I'll say it a couple different ways. So what we're doing here, what's on the table, is to opt out of the state law provision that allows the municipality to opt out, and if there is an opting out, then that will prohibit any dispensary or on-site license for the use and sale of marijuana. So in other words, if you opt out, you're prohibiting those things to happen in the town. Okay?
John, excuse me. I think we should do this two-step. We'll vote on opting out of dispensing and then sale.
That's fine.
Okay.
I'm just going to continue my little
That's fine.
dissertation
That's
here.
fine.
Okay. So, again, if you opt out of either or, you prohibit. Okay? That has to be done if you decide to do so by the end of the year. It's the way the legislature set this up. Okay? If you opt out, the prohibition goes into effect. You can at any point opt back in and allow those things within the town. If you don't opt out by the end of the year, you can never opt back in. Okay? So if you don't opt out by the end of the year, then you can never opt out. You're automatically opted in. That's the better way to say it. Okay? As Tom kind of implied, you can do an either-or situation. You can allow dispensaries, or you can prohibit dispensaries and allow on-site uses or licenses, or vice versa. Or you can prohibit both. Okay? I have looked into the possibility of putting this issue on the ballot in November. It is too late to do that. It is not an option at this point. So get that out of your mind tonight as you're discussing this. Obviously, you've heard from the public with some implications, be them economical, other considerations, but I'm sure you've all thought about this long and hard, and I just want to make sure everybody understands the semantics of it, because it can be somewhat confusing if you think about it. Any questions, let me know.
Any other discussion?
What's the estimated loss of sales tax on cannabis for Cortland County? Anyone know?
They haven't, to the best of my knowledge, they have not even determined a rate yet.
Okay. So it appears from discussions I've had with people that are in favor of having dispensaries, not in favor of opting out, but in favor of having dispensaries, feel that all it does is force our people to spend their money in Tompkins County or wherever, and there's probably a lot of truth to that. That's why I question, what are we talking there as far as sales and taxes? So, if we opt out, what's that mean for medicinal cannabis? That can't be sold in Cortland County either. It's be a prescription at that point. Have we thought through that? Because I have not thought through that. I don't know anyone that needs it, but I have had a comment from one constituent that says, this is what keeps me, I won't say sane, I'm kind of paraphrasing, but makes me steady Eddie, that kind of thing there. So I just want to make sure we're all on the same page as understanding what this means financially and personally, both medicinally and so on. I, for one, am not in favor of consumption, but I'm not opposed to other people that have a need or a desire. It is the United States of America. My children that I've raised now up to 46 years and less, but they've heard from their dad that you don't need this, you know, and I've never experimented in it, never chewed. I really don't even like taking aspirin, but there comes times when you have to. So I just want to make sure that everyone understands the consequences, both financial and personal. If we don't know if medicinal marijuana is going to be not allowed in Cortland County, then we need to get that straightened out. Well, there are those out there.
If we opt out, that doesn't mean the city can't do it, correct?
That's correct.
So we're not banning the whole county.
Oh no, that's not what I'm saying.
Well, I thought the way you were talking that if we opt out, then the whole county has to opt out with us. But
No, but the whole county may opt out, not countywide, but the village may opt out, and so on there. So I don't know where they're at, okay? But this should not be an impediment to our citizens.
well, I would think that if down the road that there's a huge demand for it and people come knocking on the door and we can opt back in. That's my feeling.
That's the good side of this.
That if we opt out now and there's popular support for it, we can change our minds.
My reading, and I would defer to John, but my reading of the statute is that this applies specifically and only to personal recreational use. Okay. No comment about medicinal, that's by prescription. All the rest of the drugs.
It's just a question I have to ask because I had no idea.
Teddy?
I'm up in the air, I don't know. I want to know how Mr. Del Vecchio. Go ahead.
I'm not going to give my personal opinion about it. That's not what I do here. But here's 3 points just to think about that are wrong to my mind. If you decide to not opt out, and essentially you're opted in, the legislature, in the legislation that was passed, will still allow the municipality to regulate where these dispensaries are in the town, or where these on-site places are in the town. So if you allow these uses, you will then have the ability to sort of recalibrate and assess your zoning to decide where the town wants these things to be. That's my first thought. Secondly, Mr. Withy asked about had some economics about this. A lot of that's unknown, but what sort of registered in my mind is that if you do opt out, again, you'll have any and all opportunity to opt back in, and you could collect some empirical data from other towns, villages, and cities that do allow those uses to see what the economics result in for those places, and then sort of reconsider as to whether or not you think it's economically viable to potentially opt back in. That's a thought that I had. One other thought that I had is that in order, let's say you opt in and you allow the uses, anybody who wants to have a dispensary or an on-site pot bar, if you will, it's my understanding that they will have to go through somewhat rigorous licensing application with New York State. So it's not like these places can just pop up without going through an administrative application process, probably a vigorous background check, somewhat similar to a liquor license, that's my guess, I don't know. But I'm sure that it's not gonna just be a snap of a finger to get a license to have a place like that. That's just a consideration that was floating through my mind as well.
Anything else?
Is there any other, in Cortland County, has anybody done this yet? Yes or no?
I believe the village of Homer opted in.
Village
Sorry,
did, but
what's
town
the right
didn't.
information?
Village did, but town didn't.
There you go.
One yes and one no.
The village opted in of dispensaries, but not for on-site consumption, is my understanding.
Correct.
We don't normally do this, but brief comment, if you want to make it.
Something that I haven't heard taken into consideration is the manufacturing around here. If we opt into this and people can go and consume, how is that gonna alter the hiring practices of places like Cortlandville, Forky's, other manufacturing companies around here that have policies about not hiring people that prove to be doing drugs? I mean,
It'd be no different than going out in the backseat of your car at lunch hour and banging back a six-pack. I mean, that's,
yeah, but you gotta get hired. And
Understood.
if they do the hair test and all that sort of stuff, then compensation insurance is gonna go sky high and
understood.
I'd like to actually, I'm going to surprise you a little bit here. You know, my feeling on this is the fact that the money, and I hate saying it that way, but in the battles that I do, and the organizations I work with, it's funding. We need funding to help fight this. We need funding to help fight that. The dispensaries, I agree. They're going to be either on the borders. People are going to drive out of town. They're going to spend their tax dollars somewhere else. And then at the same time, some people are just going to grow it. And they're not going to worry about going to the dispensary. But besides the tax dollars, and if you guys decide, hey, let's do this, let's do something good at the same time. Okay? I'm going to throw Matt kind of in the wind here just because I work with their organization and I love what they do. Okay? What are we worried about? We're worried about our youth. We're losing kids left and right? Why not just take the tax dollars that are from the dispensaries and put them back into the community immediately for education, preventing the use of drugs? Okay, and educate the youth and use them for prevention programs. Okay, instead of saying, hey, we can make thousands of dollars and buy new trucks and new cars and stuff, why not put it right back in what it's doing? We have pharmaceutical companies right now that are paying millions of dollars because of what they've done. And that money may not even go where it should really be going, to save lives. So I do say, in a couple aspects of the money end, yeah, allow it. But earmark the money for an organization like Cortland Area Community That Cares that can immediately turn it around to help our youth in our community. Okay, secondly, right now they're dusting marijuana with fentanyl, and people are dying. So why are we not even considering the fact that with the dispensary being regulated, that will not be taking place, and it allows for safer usage? So it's about harm reduction, guys.
Understood.
That's the thing I want you to think about.
Thank you. Anything else? I'm going to date myself right now. I grew up sort of in the dinosaur era. And I think most of you know my background. I spent a lot of time dealing with drugs and drug abuse and the resultant problems. I've spent many instances where we were, and not to get too graphic, but taking body parts out of cars in a cornfield at 3 in the morning. That's one feature that weighs on me. The other is and here again, I'll date myself. It's still a federal law. There's still a federal statute regulating marijuana use in, and I don't want to be, as I say, I'm a dinosaur perhaps, but I don't want to go down on the record saying, well, I guess I don't care what the federal law says, we're going to go ahead and do it, just because the state said we could go ahead and do it, because they said the federal law doesn't matter. I mean, that's probably simplification, but there may be some merit in that. So I'm going to vote to opt out on both of them. Just, I'm trying to persuade anybody, but I just wanted that out. So, any other further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of
You want to take them in parts?
taking parts?
All right. So,
All those in favor of opting out of the dispensary side of things, the sale side?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Okay, 4-1, let the record show, it was a 4-1 vote. Take the second half, all those in favor of opting out of the use, the pot parlor, whatever you want to call it, the places of use.
Vote aye.
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 Let the record show that that passed 5-0. Thank you.
so I think, Kristen, because there was a different vote on two aspects, we'll probably take it in separate resolutions. Does that make sense?
Yes.
How it was
I know
just
it's one
local law.
local law, two different votes on two different issues. Very rarely does that happen.
Well, it's interesting because I'm not sure that I'm right here, and I don't really like to speak sometimes when I don't know whether I'm right, but it was my understanding that you could either opt out of both of them or opt out of just the on-site and allow the dispensaries. So I don't think you could have actually opted out of dispensaries and opted into on-site consumption. But again, I'm not sure.
I think since the votes were the way they were, the motion was to adopt the local law as proposed. So since both were affirmative, I think we just do it all in one resolution. Two separate votes within one resolution, and then the local law passes. That's, I think, legally correct.
Janet, I'd like to have it on record that I was in favor of the one article. So I'm not sure how you want to do that.
Within the same resolution, just indicate that Mr. Withy voted the way he did in the nay on that one issue. It'll be in the minutes.
Okay, that works.
Okay.
Stay connected. Make sure you hit the subscribe button.